So good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day here in Oshkosh. I'm super excited to be here out of the heat of Florida. That's where I'm originally based. But today we're going to go over some tips and tricks of how to buy and sell your aviation real estate. It's a little bit trickier than traditional real estate. There's a lot more nuances and some more complexities to it, especially since you're typically dealing with multiple buildings. So this is just a little brief overview of what we'll be going over today. And I promise you, like hopefully, right? A little bit about me. My name is Melanie Riddick. I am the broker owner of AV8 Realty. My husband and I founded AV8 Realty because we live in a flying community called Naked Lady Ranch. It is not a nudist colony, I promise. It is a flying community in Palm City, Florida. And finding our real aviation real estate property was very cumbersome. We were looking at barnstormers and trade plane, and there's just a list of different classifieds. It's kind of what I like to call it. And you have no idea where these airports are located, what's near there, schools, amenities, and whatnot. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology with a minor in business law. Used to give behavioral therapy to children with autism for 10 years, and then I met my husband and had to quit as a decent amount of clients. My husband and I am also a caretaker of our beloved 1967 Beechcraft Super Musketeer. My husband and I, as a double opposite, we bought our Airpark community first, then he went and got his pilot's license, and then we bought the plane. Typically, it goes the opposite. They have the license, the plane, and then the Airpark community. So just by a show of hands here, who currently owns aviation real estate? Awesome. Who currently has a hangar? Okay. Who currently has an airport? Hello? Who currently has a private airport for all landing strip? Okay. Who currently has airport land that they haven't built? You really love aviation real estate, don't you? Who is looking to sell their aviation property? Who is looking to buy? All right, perfect, awesome. So I'm just going to briefly go over, there's 3 different types of aviation real estate. We'll go over that real quick, and then we'll get into the nuances of purchasing your aviation property. So first of all, you have your hangars. They're small, medium, or large, normally found in public airports, although you do find them in private airports as well. And they usually involve some type of land lease. So you really want to check in to see how many years are left on that land lease. Last thing you want is the FAA to come in and say, no, we're going to turn this into an FBO, or we're going to jack up your rates tremendously, and all of a sudden you're starting to price yourself out of that. Then we have our Airpark homes and lands. They're usually located in a flying community, typically have a home or hangar on it, and are usually governed by some sort of governing body. There's usually tons of buildable lots left. There's about 5 in my community that are still left to be built. The owners are holding on to them tight though, as property prices have increased tremendously, especially since the pandemic. But for sure, make sure you review all the governing documents before you purchase, just to make sure that you're able to do what you want to do there. And then you have your private airports and your own private landing strips. This is where you own the whole entire airport and what's located on it. And this is a great way if, maybe you are, into building aviation company or whatnot. There you can do your R&D and whatnot. I know of a client of mine, he would love to fly his ultralights in and out of his airport community, and they said absolutely not. So now he's looking at buying his own airstrip so he can do what he wants there. They can be privately owned with public use, or just completely privately owned. So what does every pilot need to successfully aviate? A checklist. So I'm going to go over what my checklist is for buying and selling your aviation real estate. You don't need a copy or take pictures of any of the slides that are coming up here. There'll be a QR code at the end that will have a workbook for you, so you can easily take that with you when you're starting to look at aviation property. So we're going to go over the buyer checklist first. That was most of your hands were up looking to purchase your aviation real estate. So when you're pre-flighting, which all of this is going to be aviation related. What are your requirements? You really want to go over what your requirements are for an Airpark community, Airpark land. And no, it's not what a kitchen looks like. That is number one. Lots of realtors out there, they start describing what the house looks like. And that's probably the furthest thing from an aviator's mind is what the bathroom and the kitchen looks like. So what's the number one thing that you need to look for is what are your aircraft requirements? You need to look at runway length, runway width, hangar size, more specifically the hangar door size. There's countless of listings I've seen across the country that go, oh, it's a 6,400 square foot hangar. That's beautiful. That's a great size hangar, but it doesn't mean anything to me, and it doesn't mean anything to my clients. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, what's your hangar door dimensions? What aircraft can fit into that hangar? Because that's going to limit who your clientele is. You also need to figure out if the Airpark community allows props, turbine engines, jets. My community does not allow jet engines, it allows turbine engines. Yeah, same noise, you know, basically, but we also have a weight restriction, so that also limits it to 12. Most flying communities have a weight restriction of 12,500 pounds. So maybe your Vision Jet can get in there, but not a whole bunch else. Then you also need to figure out what your mission needs are for your, do you need commercial or, you know, space or not? Most flying communities will not allow you to operate commercially from there. You need to figure out what your pavement type is, whether or not you're okay flying into grass or not. If there's fuel availability, if it's towered, sometimes you have to check on your insurance with your aircraft to make sure that that airport fits your needs. One of my neighbors had to put in a paved taxiway to his house because he wasn't living right on the runway for insurance purposes. Cost him an arm and a leg to do it, but he did it. And then you want to see if what the type of approaches are there for the airport. Now, location, right? How far are you willing to drive to get to work or to live in an aircraft community? So typically 100 miles would take you about an hour and a half to drive, depending on where you live and work. And less expensive properties are usually located in less densely populated areas. I'll get to something else. So here is another poll. Who here has experience of living in a shortage to your area? I should think who here is not, right? This is where Airpark homes and communities have started coming in high demand because of that. Who here has ever considered living in an Airpark home and or private airport? Be my neighbor. We've got a couple of properties available. This is just a food for thought. If you're still working a 100-mile flight is about 40 minutes in a Cirrus. My neighbor flies to work 3 to 4 days a week. He's got offices around the state of Florida, and it beats that rush hour traffic. He gets to help his wife to bring his kids off to school in the morning, and he's home for dinner at night, which is really nice. Now, before starting your engine, you start looking at properties. Here's what I suggest you do first. Strong financial statements make strong offers, right? Get your finances in order. You want to make sure that if you're having it in cash or if you're buying it in cash, that you have it liquid and able to go. You want to get a pre-approval letter if you're financing. There's also different ways to finance if you're doing lines of credit, business lines of credit, hard money, which I do not recommend to do. Those are usually unfavorable terms. But you really want to make sure that you have your finances in order before starting. Don't always do these time, especially not happy twice. And then you want to start creating your safe searches, right? So you can go to Zillow and Redfin, you can go to Barnstormers, Trade Plane, Hangar Trader, you can join the Facebook groups, and then on website. Pretty good. You can sleep your search there. You can search by one name length, runway type, and dimensions and whatnot, and save your search. So you're really looking at values that suit your needs. And before you start taxing, you need to verify a couple of things. You need to verify that the airport can handle your airplane, your aircraft, and that the hangar can. There's been a lot of times I've gone on listing appointments and like, oh yeah, this is the dimensions of my hangar door on the curb. So now I bring the measuring tape in the hangar where I go, just to verify that that hangar door truly is what the owner says it is. The last thing you want to do is buy a piece of property. You can't even take the plane in and out of your hangar. If you can, it's a heart attack every time you do it. met a couple of people where they had to cockeye their plane into their hangar. I'm like, ooh, that scares me, seeing them do that. So then you also need to verify for what kind of association the airport community is in. Certain associations have much more stringent rules and regulations as far as when we can fly, when we can and cannot fly, but also they can and cannot build. And that's, you really want to make sure that you're able to do what you want to do in that airport community. You don't want to start looking at problem and go down that hole and a month later go, oh, this problem is not going to suit my needs at all. This is the biggest thing. We are a bunch of type A personalities here in the aviation community. And most aviation communities that I've come across have had some sort of strife or some sort of litigation. And you really want to figure out if they are in litigation, where they are in that process of litigating. Is it the whole community as a whole? Is it that specific property that you're buying? Is that property under litigation or that property owner under litigation? Because the last thing you want to do, which happened to my husband and I, we bought in and our HOA dues was $1,800 for the year. And officially we did, it jacked up to $8,000. So that was not a fun year for us. We're like, yeah, okay. We were super excited to enjoy the aviation lifestyle, and yeah, I got slammed with a nice little bill, so that was fun. And then you also want to check if the association's finances are in good standing and good order. There are taxiways and runways that need to be maintained. You want to make sure that they have reserves for that. Don't get slammed with the huge assessments, and we don't have the reserves to repave the runway, which can cost a lot of money. And that's a lot of money and time. And then the other thing you want to for sure look at is, where is the Airpark located to your everyday necessities? Maybe you are okay driving 30 minutes to the grocery store, but I guarantee you your wife probably isn't. So you want to really make sure. A lot of these airport communities are very rural. I have a listing right now where it's 45 minutes to get to the nearest grocery store. It's great for the people who live there, but it's not for everyone. So you really want to make sure that your everyday life necessities can be taken care of pretty quickly and easily. You also want to check on the taxes and insurance. For sure, your taxes will most likely increase. Most property appraisers or auditors will have like an app on their site where you can type in what your purchase price is, and then it will recalculate what your taxes will be. So you can kind of figure out how far your taxes are going to jump up. And then insurance for us, again, not to scare anyone off, but our insurance went through the roof because we are over 5 miles away from the nearest fire station. So they were like, well, you're at a risk and a liability here, so you're gonna have to pay for that. So you really want to see what your insurance needs might be, because it might be more than what the current owner pays. And if you're planning to build and develop the Airpark land that you're purchasing, you really want to run the plans just a 30,000 foot year, bought by the government and bought. Because there was another guy that sold his properties here, and he got upset because he went in there, gave his plans to the architectural review committee, and they said, oh yeah, all that you're going to do? Yeah, we're not letting you do it. And if he would have sat there and told them straight away, hey, I'm building a hangar home, they would have told him, no, you can't do that straight away. And that was just a very easy 30,000 foot view, where the home is attached to the hangar. So just to clarify it. Most in Florida, a lot of flying communities don't allow that just for insurance purposes. They don't want the fuel to explode in the hangar and all of a sudden it has to start burning down. You want to check your, whatever surveys you can get your hands on and your setbacks to really make sure that you're able to do what you want to do in these flying communities. And then you want to gain permission to tour the airport, especially if you're flying in. You want to figure out what the landing procedures are there, and if you're comfortable flying in and out of that airport as well. So now you have a whole bunch of properties that you want to go tour, and we're ready to start taking off here. So when you start touring a property, and this is what I try to tell my clients all the time, look at things that can easily be changed versus things that cannot be changed, right? So direction of the hangar door is not easily changeable, but maybe a bathroom that needs massively updating, which this part needs a fresh coat of paint on there and ripping down a wallpaper, is something super simple and easy, and it's not really gonna, break your piggy bank too much. Also, flying in if you can. There are people who've bought into flying communities and said, "Oh, I really hate that approach." Well, we should have flown in there beforehand to make sure that it really suits your needs and your mission of what you're trying to do. I live on a 4,000-foot paved runway. We have trees on either end of it, which makes it a very steep approach, kind of limits it down to 3,000 feet then. And a neighbor of mine has a 414, and he will not take that thing off fully loaded from our airport. Just those trees are a little unforgiving. And then you want to taxi to and from that piece of property. Like, what is those taxiways like? Are they paved or are they grass? I live in Florida. We have a rainy season. If it's grass taxiways, there's going to be a time period there where you can't fly your aircraft. So you kind of really want to see, if this is really going to be conducive to your lifestyle and what you're using that Airpark community for. And how's getting your plane in and out of the hangar? Another neighbor of mine, his property sat on Marco really all the time because to get into his hangar, you need to go up a really steep embankment. And he got a great deal. It was fine for him, but obviously it wasn't fine for a lot of other people. So you really want to keep your eye on that kind of stuff when you're looking at hangar property. And then my husband was so upset about this one. He didn't realize it. When we bought the property, our hangar faces west in the afternoon. My husband is not a morning person. He's more of a night owl evening person. And that hangar is hot. So you really want to figure out, what direction the hangar door is and if it's really going to suit your needs. And now we're looking at building another hangar, and the hangar door is going to face north, so it can suit our needs better. And this one, this hangar, it's got 2 doors, so then just drive straight through. Just kind of nice where you get a cross breeze in it. And then when you're touring, just again, a 30,000-foot view, I know you're going to do an inspection and whatnot when it goes under contract, but you kind of want to get like a lay of the land of what's going on with the systems in the house. When was the water system updated? Because most of us are on well or on septic. How's it? Ask how often do you have to get the septic pumped? How's the pool pump? How's the hangar door for sure? How often do you have to maintain that? Is there any rust on the hangar door? Those type of things. And then again, because we are aviators, we are type A personalities, you want to try to meet the board members so you can kind of get the lay of the land and the attitude of the community and see if you can do what you want to do in the Airpark community. State your intentions of what you're trying to build and see if you can get them on your side and whatnot. Last thing you want to do is, again, buy a piece of property and be stuck with something for a couple of years because you can't do what you want to do there. So now you've earned this property, you're under contract, you're ready to rock and roll, you're doing your estimate about this is the time where you can afford, right? If something's not right, this is in your inspection period, this is the time where you go, hey, you know what, this is no longer work for me, this is when you can abort your mission and start looking again. But now you're under contract, so now we want you to get everything inspected, and hopefully you find an inspector that really understands complex properties, looking at multiple different buildings and really understanding the complexities, especially the hangar door, if it's hydraulic and whatnot, of what that all entails. My brother's an inspector, but he doesn't know the first thing about it, so I don't use him. You also want to ensure they have all of the latest information from the airport's governing body, the recent meeting minutes, the financials. You want to make sure everything's really in good standing. You don't want to, again, a lot of these airport properties are expensive, so you don't want to get into something and not be able to do exactly what you want to do. And again, if you haven't flown in, fly in again, or fly in, and if you have flown in, fly in again. Just to get the lay of the land, start meeting some of your neighbors as well, and start getting comfortable with that airport. And then you want to go over your surveys and see if you're going to build again or build something else on there. Maybe even the mother-in-law suite, or like for us in the hangar, that we're able to do what you want to do, especially with the setbacks and whatnot. Shop for insurance now. Like enter contracts, start calling insurance companies. Florida, where insurance companies come in for 2 years and they come out. When they come in for 2 years and they come out, so insurance rates constantly get jacked up. You just want to make sure that you're able to close on the property and not get, for us, that was one of the hiccups when we were buying our property was insurance. And that wasn't too fun. And then double check your taxes as well. Again, I told you a lot of municipalities have that estimate tools online for you that you can use. And if you're financing, start the official process now. And this is the big thing. Get an appraiser that knows how to appraise aviation real estate. When my husband and I refinanced our property, when the interest rates went below, 3.5% or 3%, whatever it was, our bank that we have a lot of bank accounts in, they sent an appraiser out. We're like, now it actually appraised pretty low what we originally bought for. And then we went back to him and you need to go find an appraiser that understands aviation communities. And they sent another appraiser out that knows how to appraise aviation communities. That was almost a $500,000 difference. Yeah. So we have a lot more equity in this property than we think we do. So that's very important, is to definitely ask for an appraiser that understands how to appraise Airpark communities. So now we're closing on the property. What information can the previous owner provide you? So you need to ask them, like, hey, what do you have? We had a stack, we have the original architectural plans, which is really cool. Supposedly there's some sort of trap door somewhere in our house with a crawl space underneath it. We've never found it. We've been there for 7 years, never found it, but kind of a cool thing. Probably never built it. See if there's electrical wiring diagrams. We want to know where your septic is. If you are on septic, you want to know where your well is. If you're on well as well. And just see if there's any of the recent work that was done on that property is under warranty, so that you can take that warranty with you. And then you also want to ask what monthly services do they use, maybe the names and the phone numbers of the lawn care, the pool service, who they use for their well maintenance or septic, even their water filtration system, a handyman or whatnot. And then because we are aviators and we have hangars, and those hangars get filled pretty quickly with a lot of stuff, you can ask the seller if they're willing to sell any of their things, their tugs, fuel tanks. I had a listing I just took, and she had this beautiful 500-gallon fuel tank on wheels. My husband's like, how much that is, I want it. But she already sold it, so that's fine. So now you are the new owner. This is beautiful. We're sending to invite your friends and family over to celebrate and enjoy your new piece of aviation paradise. During this time, you want to make sure you get all the services in place to maintain your property, so that when you get ready to sell, it's in good standing. So you want to make sure everything's maintained appropriately. You don't want to really like that guy there. I'll use just some tips and tricks to figure out what you're what you should be maintaining. Now you've had your property for a while, and you've aged out, or you're moving somewhere else to be closer to your kids or grandkids or whatnot. So you're getting ready to sell, and this will be your descent. You want to declutter as soon as possible. I sold my neighbor's house, and I can say this because he's not here. I can see it. Sold my neighbor's house. We had a 3-month closing. It took him another 3 months after closing to get everything off of his property. So he had accumulated so much stuff for those 30 years in his hangar, his antique hangars. So he asked the new owners, hey, can I rent this hangar back from you for 3 months and slowly get rid of all of my stuff? And he took every last piece of things with him, even though he tried to pawn some of it off on the new sellers. But you definitely want to declutter and stage the home. You want to fix any known issues that are with the home, because you just don't want that stuff to come out during inspection. It obviously lower your purchase value. And landscape, first impressions are everything. So when you walk onto a property, you want to see that it's been beautifully landscaped or at least maintained, because if the landscaping is maintained, you figure that the inside of the house is pretty well maintained as well. So now you're getting ready to list. Unless you are trying to do a FSBO, you want to work with a broker that truly understands aviation real estate to properly market your property. I can't stress this enough. There's been so many times I've talked to realtors and they have no idea what they're talking about. They're like, oh, you're in a flying community, come bring your jet is on their listing. I'm like, well, you can't put a jet there. And they have a jet, like a Lear jet, pictures of Lear jets, for their listings. You can't put that there. Like, you can. Like, no, there's a weight restriction in that property, or that HOA does not allow jets. So you really need to find someone that truly understands aviation property and how to market aviation property. There was another listing I talked to, $7 million. I asked what they hate their door. They're actually for I have to go out there and pin there. So that's the number one thing for aviators is they want to know if they can get their pay in and out of that property. And it's going to limit your clientele who can purchase that property. These are some of the pitfalls of kind of come across. Even though we are a Florida broker, we do partner with respected aviators in real estate across the country. It's called Partner to Sell Your Aviation Real Estate Property. We also have strategic partnerships with foreign service and trade plane, just to make sure that we're hitting pilots, because we want to keep pilots in the aviation communities. So as you're as you're starting to list your property, this is a profile by that picture. Production photo, drone footage that was taken. You really want to make sure that you get professional photos taken. You want photos of the Airpark, you want photos of the airstrip, you want photos of the Airpark signage, and then of course you want photos of your hangar, your home, and all that kind of stuff too. But you also, you're trying to sell that lifestyle of the aviation property or Airpark, and that's, you need to make sure that those photos are there as well. Do walkthrough videos. This is key, so you don't have a bunch of people trekking through your house that maybe your home doesn't really suit their needs. So having walkthrough videos is surely an importance. This is Treasure Coast. Also do 3D. This is a really cool 3D Matterport software that has come out as of late, and I definitely recommend doing this for higher net worth homes, and that way people can really kind of get a feel and lay of the land for it. Also, when someone goes under contract on your property, you can have this. The really cool thing about this software is that it can give you the exact window dimensions. So the wives can start shopping for window treatments and whatnot before they're even in the property. The other thing is make very vivid descriptions about your Airpark. In your home, you want for sure hangar dimensions. Again, I can't stress that enough. Your hangar dimensions refer specifically your hangar door, what's available by there, how often is it maintained, and all those type of things. You want to create very vivid descriptions so that your potential purchaser knows exactly what they're getting into. Here are some of the keys that key things that you need to have either yourself or your realtor use to create those vivid descriptions. And then you want to gather all of your documents to your property so you can pass those off to the purchaser. Your HOA documents for sure are super important. If you have any surveys, floor plans, any building plans that you may have had that have been passed by the county, for sure, that'd be great to, you never know if the new purchaser wants to build that build that building plan. And then you also want to give your HOA or governing body a heads up that your property is going on the market and that the people are going to be coming in and out and storing your property. And you're probably going to get some phone calls. I've always encouraged my purchasers to call the HOA and really get a lay of the land. So I said before, can be pretty litigious in these aviation communities. And now you're listing your property. And no, all this stuff cannot fit on a GUMS checklist, but you're listing your property and Sorry, my mouth is dry now. You've listed your property, now you're starting to market your property. So there's two different ways you can go about it. Some people love to use the MLS, which obviously gets syndicated to Redfin and Realtor.com and all that kind of stuff. And there are other people I've come across who say, I don't want it on the MLS at all, which is great because in the aviation community, there's multiple different avenues and ways to market the property without it actually going on the MLS. And one of the perks of not being on the MLS is that you don't have all that history that gets syndicated of price drops and the estimates and all that kind of stuff. It just takes all that out of there, and so your purchaser doesn't really know too much about the history of the property. And I think typically kind of get a little bit more money too. These are some places where you can list your aviation property. There's obviously our website, which is free to list. You get social blasts. It also gets syndicated to all the different social media groups and Facebook groups. There's emails. We've got a list of people looking for specific properties. They automatically get emailed it. You also have Trade Plane and Barnstormers, Hangar Trader, Aviators Marketplace, and all the Facebook groups. And these are all great places to market your aviation property for sure. And then marketing aviation events, specifically events here at EAA, Sun Fun, at our local air shows. We kind of want to start having a property have presence at these aviation, it's tailored specific to the aviation community. Now, getting your deal done, right? Which is the happiest day for everyone. If you're living on the property, for sure, make sure it's well maintained on the inside. If you're not living there, please make sure that you have, lawn care coming every, in Florida, in the summer hierarchy every week. Sorry, there's a mama bird feeding her baby birds that are super cute. But make sure that the property stays in presentable manner at all times. So now you're negotiating the deals and terms, and obviously every deal is different. Try to stay from deals that are contingent on financing and appraisal contingencies. Again, there's pitfalls with that. There's a lot of appraisers out there that do not understand the first thing about aviation communities. So you really need to stress to your purchaser if you're financing, okay, that might be great, but I really want you to go back to your financial institution and make sure that they are bringing out an appraiser that understands aviation communities. Once the deal is hard, start planning on getting a percent off the property as VP. As I told you, I had a client who took him an extra 3 months beyond closing to get his stuff out of his name, which was not very fun for the seller, although the seller did make some money for it, so that's fine. So the first document entering the deal is about to close. Help the new owner transition to the property. So gather all the documents pertaining to the property, make a list of people who you use, let the utilities know that this is our last date of service, so that the purchaser can then let the utilities know that they are now the current owner. And if there's any items that you want to offer to the purchaser or to sell to the purchaser, start talking to them before the deal closes. So now you have sold your aviation real estate property. You can go flying or open up a cold one, and time to celebrate with your family and friends. That is basically it for me. I will be open for questions. Here is a link to the buying and selling plan, so you can have that. And it's a checklist that you can take with you everywhere. You can just download it. Also, I was notified by my husband, he did this. There's a survey there. If you'd please fill out that survey. And then with that, we'll help you either list your property, give you some feedback. This is all free for you guys. Any questions?
Just you two? Do you have other agents?
No, we do have other agents. Yeah. Where are you an agent?
Yeah, I have a.
Are you really? Well, let's talk. Now, I create, I'm a Florida broker. I can't buy and sell real estate outside of the state, but I do create strategic partnerships with agents across the country just to make sure that they It's that the agents get the best of it all, of the aviation aspect of it. So, like I said earlier at the beginning of the presentation, we've created strategic partnerships with barnstormers and trade planes, so listings can go in there as well. And also all the Facebook groups and stuff like that. Our goal is to keep aviators in these flying communities, because it's not fun when non-aviators come into these flying communities. They don't really like to pay the HOA fees. They get a little upset with the airplane noise, even though most of the bylaws sit there and say that airplane traffic is not considered a nuisance. I know that's in our laws. And some people try to put in time restrictions and when you can fly. And I'm like, well, that's like telling me I can only drive in and out of my property during certain hours of the day. I live in a flying community. I just need to fly in and out whenever I feel like it. The likelihood of being flying in and out at 2 o'clock in the morning can be pretty slim. And most students can be pretty sad. Yeah. So that's again why I stress it truly meets the HOA members, and maybe even some people in the community. If you're walking around, just say, hey, I'm thinking about buying this property. Can you tell me anything about that property, or can you tell me anything about the community? But you just really want to get a lay of the land, because you don't want to buy into a place and then feel unwanted around your loved ones, or not be able to do exactly what you want to do. You want to be around like-minded people. So. What?
First, there, communities that have graph, there's the land. This county code sort of the dicey in a lot of states where they classify as not. Especially in the watch.
I have not heard of any tiny home communities with a grass strip. I did hear someone who is developing a tiny home community actually for Cirrus, but it's not on any strip. It's 4 miles away from the airport where they're flying. So putting those two together, I've not heard of that.
Just one other point. I flew out to California, specifically to Illinois. So communities out there that buy the land are, and the price, the lots are relatively sensitive with an acre. Obviously, no room for a hate to bear or anything, so they'll take close to the airport, but that kind of pretty rare. I'm finding that for tiny ones in particular, whole parks around it, it's hard to get a lease or own land to put that up.
Yeah, that's typically what I'm finding as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why they don't really like I guess population densities, maybe there's why they don't like the tiny homes. Yeah.
Two communities that I've had are work fields. But interesting, they are variated land.
Okay.
And entertainment.
That's really cool. So I take it, you're into tiny homes, or is that like?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
What are some effective strategies for keeping bubbles out?
For keeping the non-aviators out? For sure finding people, 'cause obviously you can't discriminate, right? You can't sit there and say, oh, you're a non-aviator, you can't buy in here. There are some airport communities I've seen where they do have that limitation factor, where they sit there and say you have to have a minimum of a student pilot license in order to purchase property. It's very rare, but I have seen it. But the way I look at it is constantly marketing into the aviation community, the different Facebook groups, trade plane, barnstormers, AV8 Realty, whatever that other guy's name is. Just keep marketing to the aviation community. There's tons of us out there who want to live in these airport communities. One of the biggest limiting factors is financing, right? So they're getting super expensive, especially in South Florida where I live. When we bought ours, it was a little bit of a stretch for us at the time, but now we wouldn't be able to touch it. We just bought it in a great time.
For the service, but I know service strategies to achieve that.
you really can't because you're discriminating, you know? Um, yeah, unfortunately, unfortunately.
They are, you get out of it, but just get on the Airpark, I don't know where the strip, but just off. And most of the people that are buying a house on the strip are buying for the theater, and a lot of them are.
Yep.
Are so we're slowly but surely losing aviators, the ones that are different. And otherwise, it's literally money and a lot of cars from the car and they're unfortunate that hesitate.
Yeah,
Are
it's very hard. But again, like you just gotta keep hitting that aviation community, you know, by being here, here at these big trade shows. I call this a trade show, but big trade show. You know, all the different Facebook groups, and yeah, it's really the only thing you can do. And in my opinion, from what I've seen, I feel like flying communities is what's going to keep GA alive. The pandemic and Elon Musk have helped that because the pandemic has allowed people to work from home, which means that they can work remotely, and a lot of these airport communities are out in the boondocks. So internet is a little bit hard, but Elon Musk kind of helped with that by creating Starlink. When we moved into our flying community, the internet was horrible. You couldn't have the kids watch TV and then be on a Zoom meeting at the same time. They had to jump, like they had to take it off on TV. And now with Starlink, and then there's also, you know, the 5G networks as well, has made it super affordable.
what is it though?
I think there's, yes, weird song kind of.
Any advice on some of the strategy?
And this is, well, the advice I would give is for sure, contact the RAF.org. They are awesome. They have attorneys on staff too that will help you establish the Airpark or the airstrip as well. That would be my number one. And number two, I always gotta find that land first, right? Finding the land is key. And then making sure that you're not around a bunch of other airports or, you know, class Charlie, you know, the different class airspaces, whatnot, because it can be a little bit cumbersome flying in and out. We flew into Spruce Creek just because we wanted to see what Spruce Creek was all about. And we were invited by a real estate company there to fly in, and flying out. My husband was like, okay, make sure I'm not going above this altitude. watch for planes, because we were going through some different classes that he's not used to. So, yeah, class.
Sure.
Huh? Class Charlie, okay. He's the aviator, I'm not. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for coming in.